The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Townsquare Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
We dedicate this show, especially because the Kentucky Derby is today, we dedicate it to the memory of the Atlantic City Racecourse. Remember that? So about 30 years ago, we ran a promotion at a station I was running, and we went to the racecourse, and I placed a bet, $2 bet on a horse, and I won. I won $14. And that's the only time I ever bet and I ever won anything. So we think about that in terms of Derby Day and the Kentucky Derby. So fond memories of the Atlantic City Racecourse. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday we're here, 9 till noon, Talk Radio. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 FM and also heard on 1450 AM and online, always streaming at WPGTalkRadio.com. So those are all the ways you can listen. And of course, you can call in 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. We had a lively show last week, and we hope that we have another lively show today here on Talk with a Purpose. Again, 609-407-1450. A lot to talk about today here on the show, and we hope you'll participate in any of the discussions. And, of course, Trump is in there and other things as well. But speaking of Trump, I wanted to talk about something that's, well, it's not bothering me, but I think about it, and I don't know whether it's appropriate or not. And that is, when I first got into radio many years ago, many years ago, I was told more than once by several bosses not to discuss religion, politics, or sex. Well, we're not going to talk about sex, obviously, but 2 out of 3, religion and politics, they don't talk about. You can't talk about it, and we always talk about it here on the show. So, for now, religion and politics. That's what we'll talk about. Recently, in fact, it was just this past March, former President Trump began hawking his version of the Bible. Did you see this? For $49.95, whatever it was, $49.95 or something. And it was Make America Godly Again, to go with Make America Great Again, which brings up all kinds of questions. Should a political candidate discuss religion? Should religion be discussed in a country where we guarantee religious freedom? Should it be an issue at all? Or, as many of the editorials and many of the pundits say, Trump is perverting religion by selling his version of the Bible. Oh, you could have expected that. Does it belong anywhere in this campaign? Many, many questions. Is Trump really making America godly again? I doubt that he researched this, but Washington, Jefferson, and John Adams all spoke of the importance of God in our nation's original documents. Yes, they certainly did. So does it belong? Again, that question. Has morality and decadence reached an all-time low? Therefore, Trump, trying to make himself the hero, is trying to bring that back. Again, a thought-provoking question. Does it belong? Or many religious leaders are saying Trump is committing Bible blasphemy. Oh, there's another one against Trump. There is no question that ever since public schools prohibited prayer, I think, and again, you can chime in on this during the course of the show, I think there has been a moral decline. And that religion and all that that brings is sometimes a calming effect. Yes, it was Ronald Reagan, my favorite president, who designated 1983 as the year of the Bible. Forgot about that, huh? Reagan was also falsely accused of violating the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, which prohibits the government from favoring one religion over the other. So the bottom line is Donald Trump perverting the word of God, or is he right to make America godly again? Or does it even belong as a talking point in this political campaign? There's all kinds of ways you can go with this. And as one religious leader put it, if we were to follow God's laws and desires in this nation, we would all have more than enough. And we would realize that perverting God's word to make political decisions and gains is nothing less than sin. That's according to a religious leader. So what do you think? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? And let's face it, Trump is in good company anytime you mention him in the same breath as Ronald Reagan. So is he trying to bring some semblance of religion back into this country? Or is he just doing it for political gain? I don't think he's making money on this Bible. I mean, $49.95 for the Trump version of the Bible. It's really makes you, but it does make you think. It really does, because if you think about it, you know, we've often said a moral decay or a moral decline in this country, and many associated with the lack of prayer in schools. And it makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about other things here on the show. Again, the abortion issue seems to be coming to a head again, and Biden is playing that up, because let's face it, Biden doesn't really have anything else. And we'll go over some poll results later on in the show, and it's looking more and more like maybe Trump's going to win. So we'll see about that. So a lot to talk about here on the show. And again, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. And we bring in the one and only Seth Grossman, Seth Liberty and Prosperity, his website, libertyandprosperity.com. Seth, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I guess the only thing I'd want to say about religion at the beginning is that the First Amendment doesn't say government can't have anything to do with religion. The First Amendment just says that the government can't spend government money to establish a church. In Europe, it's done all the time. Most of the governments give money to their churches. And what that does, it means that your minister, your priest, is basically a government employee. And that's one of the reasons why religion or Christianity is in such miserable shape in Europe. I mean, you'll go to Spain, you'll go to Italy, you'll see these beautiful cathedrals, but they're empty. No people there. But that's just a side thought. Some of the things at libertyandprosperity.com, and of course it's all posted on our website, that we'll be discussing at our Saturday breakfast, 9:30 to 10:30, to talk a little bit again about whether Truman was right to drop the bomb on Hiroshima and how that really ties into the Medal of Freedom that President Biden gave out to a woman who helped establish Juneteenth. June 19th is a new federal holiday. I'd like to talk about Denny Levinson's comment where he basically admits that there are going to be wind turbines in the ocean and Republicans are not going to fight them. We'll talk about all the cutbacks and tax hikes in our public schools and what's causing that. We'll talk about Atlantic City's pushback against legal marijuana. And by the way, and Atlantic City had a third boardwalk fire caused by what we used to call bums, hobos, or tramps. But now we have to call them homeless. And of course, a crime story out of Egg Harbor Township, which is just like the normal news. A 19-year-old and a 17-year-old arrested in a car in Egg Harbor Township for shooting up people with a gun with a high-caliber magazine, or high-capacity magazine. But anyway, let me begin by talking about last week. I was criticizing Tucker Carlson for just being very smug in saying that America was evil and President Truman was evil for dropping an atomic bomb on Japan to quickly end the war and save millions of lives. I'm not going to repeat that stuff on the air because it's detailed. But if you go to our libertyandprosperity.com website and you go to the very top, we have a search bar. You type in the words Hiroshima and then click where it has a magnifying glass. You'll pop up 3 posts we did with all the details on exactly why the Japanese never would have surrendered had there not been for that those 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima, and how not only would hundreds of thousands of American soldiers were saved by dropping those bombs, but millions of Chinese, millions of Japanese. It would have been horrific had that war continued. And all that we have the details, the videos, the documents. It's all posted there. But why is what happened in 1945 important today? And the real lesson is that the freedom and wealth that we enjoy in America doesn't happen naturally. There are evil and psychopathic people in the world, and sometimes we have to do evil things to stop them and protect ourselves from them. And most Americans have no idea of that today. And a classic example, yesterday President Biden gave a Presidential Medal of Freedom to a nice 93-year-old black woman. And what was her achievement? Well, her achievement was walking from Texas to Washington, D.C. To promote making June 19th or Juneteenth a new federal holiday. And what's the purpose of that holiday? They say it's to remind us that even though President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation to end slavery in America in 1862, that slaves in Texas were not freed until June 19th, 1865, more than 3 years later. And we give a Medal of Freedom to have a new holiday to give all of our government employees another day off with pay to remember that there was that 3-year delay. But what is it that's not told? Why weren't the slaves in Texas freed until 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation? And the obvious answer is that 310,000 white soldiers and 40,000 black American soldiers from the North had to die to fight for that freedom. And they had to kill 250,000 soldiers from the South to do that. But even beyond the soldiers, it meant that General Sheridan had to burn all the food in Virginia, and General Sherman had to burn all the food in Georgia and South Carolina, so that thousands of Southern men, women, and children died of starvation. But that is the suffering, and that was the evil that was needed to end slavery. But if we don't understand that, then we see today, we'll look at, say, Gaza, and we'll say, oh, look at the horrible bombing and innocent people being killed. Well, yeah, that's what you have to do when a nation is doing evil and you have to stop them somehow. And you can't just do it just by wishing it. Evil things have to be done. And I think we Americans have forgotten to teach our children those things, and we've got to do it. So that's one topic.
You're on a roll. Keep going.
All right. I thought that the whole struggle to stop the wind turbines, I think, is now lost. And the reason I think that battle is lost is because Denny Levinson, Atlantic County executive, wrote a long letter in the Ocean City Summers Point Sentinel explaining why he and the other Atlantic County Republicans are not fighting the ocean wind turbines anymore. And I think there are two reasons for that. Number one, the Republican Party is really now dominated by these big construction unions and corporations who depend on big government finance projects to keep their members working. And they depend on the money that's going to come from the $1 trillion that the Biden administration is spending on this green energy and wind turbines. But another reason is that the opponents of wind turbines have never really challenged green energy. In my opinion, they made the weakest possible argument by saying, well, we don't like wind turbines because they kill whales, and we don't want wind turbines because they're ugly to look at from our vacation beach homes. So basically, Biden and Murphy said, okay, we're done with the sound test now, so we're not going to kill any more whales. And besides, saving the planet from climate change is more important than the view from your vacation home by the shore. And that's basically what Denny Levinson said. He said, well, we have the people by the beach. They don't want the wind turbines. But Atlantic County has 23 towns, and the other 19 towns really don't care what's going on the beach. So if people want to stop the wind turbines, you really got to get to the heart of it. You got to point out that the energy they produce is basically useless because it's not reliable. The only way to get energy without fossil fuels is nuclear power. But yet the wind turbine opponents are not promoting nuclear power. They're not promoting an alternative. They're not dealing with the main issue. And so the wind turbines are going through. And it's ironic because at the same time that the Biden administration push for wind turbines and solar panels is going forward, their projects for electric cars has completely failed. And even Ford, General Motors admit that nobody wants electric cars. So why do people want wind turbines and solar panels, but they don't want electric cars? And I think the answer is obvious, that with electric cars, you could see that they don't work. You could see that the batteries run down. You could see that you need $30,000 to replace a battery. You could see that they're inefficient. You could see that it takes a long time to charge. And you can see how wasteful they are and all the toxic minerals that you need for the batteries. So people have knowledge of the failure of electric cars, but they don't see the failures of wind turbines and solar panels because people who have solar panels and that they get money. They have lower electric bills because they think the solar panels are producing useful electricity. They don't realize they're getting paid by raising the rates of everybody else who doesn't have solar panels, and that the whole thing is a money laundering scam. But because the opponents of wind turbines have not raised those issues, most people don't know about them, and that's why I think that the battle's lost, at least for now, unless some basic changes are made in making the argument.
So we're going to have wind turbines whether we like it or not.
It appears that way. Basically, Denny Levinson was saying he was responding to charges that he was indifferent. And he was saying, and that was obvious when the Atlantic County commissioners could not even pass a resolution supporting a moratorium on wind turbines. So this was going on for a year. And Denny Levinson finally said, well, this is Why? Well, we're not indifferent. We just don't care. I guess he is saying he's indifferent. But we're not going to fight the wind turbines because you, the people who oppose them, you didn't make a good case for it, and they're going to happen. So if the opponents want to get serious, they got to start talking about the failure of wind turbines to provide electricity that is just going to cause electric rates to double and triple and quadruple because they just don't work. And if you want to fix the problem, they have to be advocating reopening that nuclear plant at I forget that I think in Lacey Township, and to double the size of the nuclear reactor at the Salem plant. So that is going to be discussed. Another main issue, if you look at every single local paper, it's talking about cutbacks at Mainland Regional High School, heartbreaking layoffs in, I believe, the Summers Point schools, big tax hikes in your suburban towns, layoffs in Ocean City. Why is that happening? They say, well, because we're not getting the state aid that we were expecting. And very few people know that this whole state aid business is why we have a state income tax. In 1976, our local state senator Steve Persky joined with Democrat Governor Brendan Byrne to give us an income tax where the only purpose of the income tax was to cut property taxes. But everybody's property taxes went up. So what went wrong? What went wrong is instead of being applied equally to lower property taxes in every town, the Democrats are using the income tax as a double whammy. In other words, most income tax is paid for by people who live in the suburbs, and then all that money goes to Trenton, but instead of getting that money back in property tax relief, 2/3 of that money goes to 32 Democrat-run schools in Democrat cities, and the other third was sort of given out equally among the rest of the state, but now the Democrats are even targeting more of that money for Democrat areas. So the suburbs are getting stuck with having to pay high income tax and high property taxes. And of course, one of the reasons the teachers union has been so successful in getting administrators and teachers paid so much is they're told, well, it's not coming out of your money. It's coming out of the state's paying for it. But remember, whenever you get a tax refund from your state income tax, it says right on there, paid for by the New Jersey Property Tax Relief Fund. But that money, again, Governor Murphy is not using it for property tax relief for everybody. He's just using it to reward his favorite, political friends. And that's what's causing this squeeze with public schools in the suburbs getting, less service but paying higher property taxes.
So what do we do about that?
Well, the problem is I don't know what to do because the Democrats are doing it, but then the Republicans, when the Republicans are in, they do absolutely nothing to stop it. And I think part of it is because people don't know that their income tax is supposed to give them property tax relief. But that's what we do at Liberty and Prosperity. We try to bring up the issues that no one else is talking about. But maybe when you see Vince Policina, Don Guardian, Claire Swift, talk to them and say, well, what's going on with this squeeze? And what are we going to do about making sure the property tax relief fund applies to lower everybody's property tax, not just selected Democrat, friends of Democratic governor? But that's a long issue, and you can't do anything about it until you start winning elections. But you can't win elections if people don't know what the most important issues are. But that's where we are.
Boy, you have nothing to talk about today at the meeting.
No, okay. I only had just a few quick things. In Atlantic City residents are pushing back against legal marijuana. I don't know if there's been much talk about that. But when Atlantic City first agreed to start allowing legal marijuana to be sold, it was supposed to be in a small tourist area to cater to the tourists. Last year, Atlantic City Council and the mayor expanded it to have marijuana being sold in residential areas right up through Chelsea Heights and other areas. And it's amazing. You had this coalition of not just traditional conservatives, but all of your immigrant communities, your Vietnamese, your Chinese, even the Muslim community, opposed to that. I mean, it's one thing to say if someone goes on vacation, they want to smoke marijuana, fine. If someone wants to mess up their life by smoking marijuana, fine. But don't have the government encouraging people to smoke marijuana for economic development, because it doesn't benefit to create a whole class of irresponsible, unproductive, dependent, zonked out people. That turn into bums, and many of them end up homeless. It sort of reminds me of what we're doing with the lottery. When we started out with the New Jersey lottery, the reason was, the mafia was in the numbers racket. So if the government goes into a lottery, we'll put the mafia out of business by having legal gambling. But and people said, we shouldn't have the government promoting gambling. And the government said, well, don't worry, we're just going to let the people already gambling or playing the numbers game to play the New Jersey lottery. But as soon as they legalized it, what's the first thing they did? They had all these commercials saying how cool it is to play the lottery and expanding the number of people who gambled. And basically that's what the government's doing with marijuana. Instead of saying, people are going to smoke marijuana anyway, why not let, instead of gangsters making money, let the government make the money from it. But instead the government is actively promoting something that is just not a good thing. And that just leaves us with one more story, a normal story now in Egg Harbor Township. And I don't know if you've seen it. The Egg Harbor Township police reported that last Thursday, Keon Smiley, 19 of Egg Harbor Township, and a 17-year-old boy were given several gun-related charges for firing shots from a vehicle at Fire and Delilah Roads last Thursday. When they arrested the driver, they found out he was already wanted for other traffic warrants. The 17-year-old boy was sent home to his mother, and the 19-year-old is now in prison. But the thing is, when you hear about gun violence, you never realize how normal it is that you just have these teenagers driving around with guns and shooting up people. But yet the commercials you hear on the radio as if we have a public health crisis because hospitals, the Hospital Association is saying we have child deaths from guns. We have child deaths from guns because you have these teenagers that have this culture of violence. But anyway, this is what's now normal in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Meetings is going underway 9:30 to 10:30 at Sal's Cafe, and I'm going to head over and see what's going on.
Okay, you're late. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, and the website libertyandprosperity.com. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Coming up, John, Bob, and Craig in that order, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. We'll get started with your calls after these words.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. B.F. Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, B.F. Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. B.F. Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
And we are back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. Let's talk to John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning. It's a fine sprinter day, isn't it?
Yes.
It's freezing out, man. I was just out about 5-10 minutes ago. It's cold, man. Prior General Curtis LeMay, 5th Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, stationed in the Pacific Theater of the War, World War II, said it was completely unnecessary to drop the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He said they were already a beaten foe. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were they had no military installations there, and they were the most Christian populated cities in Japan. Also, Dresden had no military significance either. And that was bombed to smithereens, too. So this is not aluminum foil wrap nonsense I'm bringing up here. But anyway, regarding the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. You have to see that in context, because King George III, who was the king at the time of our revolution, he was required by the Church of England to be a member of the Church of England. Otherwise, he couldn't have been coronated as king. And that Church of England exercised a great amount of tyranny over the American colonies. What does that tell us? It tells us that if President Trump's a Presbyterian, he can't set down a law saying, in order for you to hold office, you have to be a Presbyterian. Or if he was a Catholic, you have to be a Catholic to hold office. That's what that means. But prohibiting free exercise thereof, that's breaking the First Amendment, not upholding it. But as far as a president being able to choose his vice president, I didn't know. It wasn't until the ratification of the 25th Amendment, circa 1967, that a president can nominate his own VP. Now, I've been harping on Bobby Kennedy Jr. being President Trump's VP, but even if he were to choose him, and if even Bobby Kennedy would say, yeah, I'll go with it, the Country Club GOP is not going to approve it. So I'll just have to chalk it up to a pipe dream on my part. But as far as Biden beating out President Trump, as you see some common sense here, he's definitely cognitively impaired by now. And he was then, too, circa 2019, 2020, when President Trump was packing in whole stadiums with standing room only. This guy could barely put two sentences together, but he garnered more votes than Barack Obama or any U.S. president in history. So that's a bunch of jive nonsense. So I guess we're at loggerheads, those who say that the election wasn't stolen and those who say it was. But just take into account military Americans who were in the military had cast their votes via mail, and they were found in landfills. That's a fact. And also, they're putting cardboard up on the polling places, and the windows of the polling places in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Now, it was a fair and free election. Why did all that happen? Because it wasn't a fair and free election. And I got to tell you, those people that say your vote doesn't count, no. If your vote didn't count, they would have had to go out of their way to sabotage that election. Thanks for letting me call in.
Okay, John, thanks for the call. Well, we're starting off like we did last week. Oh, World War II and other things. So we'll see where it goes. And speaking of starting the way we started last week, Bob and Kay May. Bob, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Oh, good morning, John. I don't want to get into what we did last week.
Yeah, right.
I think we went over that pretty well.
Yeah, we did.
Anyway, look, Seth brought it up again. It's just my whole point is I think there could have been another way to bring Japan and Germany to the peace table, but whatever. What you mentioned earlier here about the Trump Bible and bringing politics and religion, the connection we have here is this here, okay? That without a firm moral basis, okay, this country is going to be in real trouble.
I agree with that. I agree.
The point I make here is so many of our social problems stem from the breakdown of the family, and illegitimate births and the poverty that causes, the crime that causes. That's all based on the fact that we just do not have a sense of morality anymore in this country, and morality and religiosity are tied together. I mean, knowing right from wrong, and one of the great political commentators of the last century was, in my opinion, Pat Buchanan. He was the original Make America First candidate. And Pat was right about so many things. The border, jobs getting shipped overseas, getting involved in unnecessary foreign wars. But what Pat said was that we don't need another Ronald Reagan right now. He said this about 10 years ago. We do not need another Ronald Reagan right now. We need another St. Paul, because our country is going the wrong way. And again, that's it's just very clear. I mean, you know, when,
I agree. No, I agree.
you know, and you know, again, it's not endorsing one particular religion over another. It's you know, kids. If you let kids just run wild, just do whatever feels good, they get into big trouble, and unfortunately, too much of that is going on.
Yeah,
you know, John.
Yeah.
Like, you know, things that feel good in the short run often turn out to be disastrous in the long run. That's what about success in life is all about. I mean, look, not studying, not educating yourself, not picking up a skill, just doing what feels good as a young adult, that's fine, but you're headed for disaster. And so often, you know, that's where our young people are going, because they don't have a sense of right and wrong.
Yeah,
they don't have a sense of sacrifice. And you know, look, you know, when you and I went to LaSalle College, I remember, you know, I had to study like all hell, John. It didn't come to me naturally.
Yeah,
I just had to study a lot. You know,
me too.
You know, I played soccer in high school. I couldn't play soccer at LaSalle because I had to study. I just had to study my freshman year. You know, it's just a decision you make. You know, again, it's having a perspective of what is good for you in the long run, and you know, religion really does help with that.
Yes, it does, and so. Unfortunately, the lack of, especially in the public schools, seems to have caused somewhat of the decline, and that's what my point was in the beginning, that maybe this is a good thing that we've done away with. And maybe Trump is trying to help us bring it back. That's another theory. So, you know. Well,
you know, the social commentator named Charles Murray, who's just a brilliant guy. You know, he's in his mid-70s now, but he's just, you know, the reason we had welfare reform in the early 90s, believe it or not, was because of Charles Murray. He really exposed the correlation between aid to families with dependent children and the family unit just being destroyed, particularly with the black population. But you know, you know, and again, it's because we've lost our way in terms of religiosity. We really have lost our ways, and it's more present in the lower socioeconomic classes. It just is. That's just a fact.
Yeah,
like
that's
in church attendance is plummeted, and you know and particularly though in areas that are, you know, economically deprived.
That's true.
And you know it's a real problem. You
That's
know,
right.
It's a big,
it sure
big
is.
Problem. So we need the great, you know, moral example of Donald Trump to show us the way.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Make America godly again. Bob, thanks for the call. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Bob. Appreciate it. Make America godly again. Hey, well, it's a thought. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. We will talk to Craig after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you. Got some open lines, 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And I'm John DeMasi, coming back with more of Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, we talk about, you know what we talk about here on the show, BF Mazzeo, which, you know, with Mother's Day is a week away, 1 week away. And, you know, I've talked about this before, some things that maybe Mom would like, and these fruit flowers are just, I mean, I'm amazed at that because, you know, you don't waste it. Flowers die within a couple of days or a week or whatever. But these fruit flowers, you can eat them. and mom can enjoy them. She can help the family enjoy them. It's a joy for everybody. And there's those chocolate-covered strawberries, and they're the really big strawberries. And if you go into B.F. Mazzio, as soon as you walk in, you turn right, and there's a refrigerator there, and all of those goodies are right there. Not only that, they have charcuterie boards, they have other types of boards, soup boards. It's all there, and it's a nice little gift for mom for Mother's Day. Of course, you're going to get her something else, and you're going to take her out to dinner and all of that stuff. B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, online at bfmazzio.com. And, of course, we talk about all the things that are there at B.F. Mazzio. I have not talked about the Olive Bar. And in the back of the store, there is a section, and it's a bar there where they have all kinds of olives. And you can pick and choose what you want. And it's like we always say, it's all right there. The olive bar, the olive oil, the cheeses. There's just so much there for you to choose from when it comes to gourmet items, specialty items, and, of course, the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, online at bfmazzio.com, bfmazzio.com. It's the perfect way to do Mother's Day. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. For today, cloudy and cool, a stray shower this afternoon with a high of 60. For tonight, cloudy skies with a low of 50. For tomorrow, occasional rain showers with a high of 62. Tomorrow night, cloudy with occasional rain with a low of 58. On Monday, humid with a couple of morning showers and times of clouds and sun in the afternoon with a thunderstorm in spots, high 78. I'm AccuWeather's Caitlin Lawrence on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Whatever happened to spring? That's what I like to know. It's cold today. I mean, really. When are we going to get spring back? Maybe next week. Welcome back. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's get back to the phones. Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
I was acting like Joe Biden for a second, just giving you a little space there in between the question and then something to connect with the brain cells. Did I do good?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear Seth, talking about how Donald Trump couldn't win the election lately. How about that?
Well, it's...
not well.
It looks more and more like, the polls are saying he's ahead, and everyone's saying he's ahead, so we'll see. I mean, it's looking more and more like he's going to win, I hope.
John, just remember one thing. 300,000 votes came in for Pennsylvania in the middle of the night, just like we had for the governor's race here in the state of New Jersey.
Yep, that's right.
Odd. But out of those 300,000 votes in Pennsylvania, not one was for Donald Trump. Not one. You know what? I mean, can you imagine? What's the percentage of that? So, I sent you a little picture before I got on here,
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a house here, right?
Yes.
A house that was $400,000. You know, pre-Biden, that house you could have bought that for $220,000.
Yes.
Okay, but that house, if it was under the interest rate of Donald J. Trump, a $400,000 house is $1,349 a month.
And it's probably double under Biden.
No, it's 59% higher.
Whoa.
You get to pay a whopping $2,148.
Whoa.
Now, mind you, not any more of that's going to principal. It's going to the bank. Correct?
Yeah.
So, you know, I heard Seth talk about slavery and how people gave up their lives. Well, people are working more of their lives for taxes until June now, and then you're going to work until November for the interest. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
I mean, think about that. I mean, so you get December to recoup. You might be able to get your family a little gift, not too much. There'll be a lot of coal. Wow, those protests this week. Did you see the protests?
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
Oh, it just...
Did that warm your heart?
Oh, just...
I mean, did you see the flag coming down, but the Palestinian flag going up? Right?
Disgusting.
All right. So I was on a radio show, and I said, they're trying to take over our country and get rid of Christianity. So, you know, you saw Columbia University.
Yes.
They came to a conclusion over there, correct?
Yeah.
Did you know what kind of conclusion they came up with to stop all that, though? You know, they had a mediation. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that, no.
Oh, yeah, they had a mediation, and, you know, there's from the Palestine, I guess, you know, that are part of that group. They got free scholarships, like 6 of them. You know what that costs? So they could get their doctorate. So this is how we reward, people that do that type of stuff. In the meantime, Jewish people couldn't even get into see the class, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I know I'm going to be running out of time here, but I wanted to talk about Donnie J. Trump and all his trials and tribulations for a quick second here. Wasn't going to bring up the dinner that you stole on me, okay? Don't get nervous.
you keep bringing this up. I mean,
of course I do. I'm going to keep bringing it up till you pay your debt.
Cash anytime you want to cash in.
I got to tell you, let's get over to this document trial here at the Mar-a-Lago. Did you know that the Justice Department and the people that are in charge of the documents, I don't know, you might be at NAFARA, I think it is. Do you know that they were in collusion together to get Donnie Trump on this?
No.
Yeah. Here's the cliffhanger, though. Remember they took the pictures of all the files on the floor and spread out all over the place?
Yes.
Well, they admitted this week that was, you ready? All staged by them, the government.
Not surprised.
Okay, so when Bob was talking about religion earlier, you know, people can't go to church. You know why?
Why?
The FBI's taking your name. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I never had my name taken.
In Congress, they admitted that they were at the churches, and they were at the Catholic churches particularly, and they were actually, you know, like they think that that's a cult. You know, so that's what's wrong. It's not that the people don't want to go to church. Look what the government's doing to people that do like to go to church. And I want to agree with you about Mazzio's fruit, you know, that fruit basket that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say this to you. When anybody's in harm's way or grieving or something like that, that's what we as a family like to send. Because, you know what, like you said, it is delicious, and you can't go wrong with that.
That's right. You can eat
it. Hey, John, if you want to buy a case of water right now, this is where the United States is heading, okay? In Canada, A case of water, $17.
Wow.
$17.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. This is what's going on. And, we're in big trouble. All right, let's go get some pizza like Donnie Trump gave the firehouse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they should have done. Brought the fire company over to Columbia University and opened up the hoses.
That's right. That's right.
Be good.
Thanks for the call, Craig. 609-407-1450. Couple of open lines here. A rare moment on the show. 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. Again, 609-407-1450. We have not talked about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in quite some time, but proving once again why he's my hero. He's in the news this week for his response to campus unrest in this country. DeSantis warned students that violent anti-Israel protests will not be tolerated in Florida. And he said, and I quote, "We're not going to let you set up a tent city in the middle of a university. That's not going to happen here." And if it does, the governor went on to say, students will be expelled. The response as it should be, and others should follow. But, as you just heard Craig say, Columbia University, they offer some students free tuition. And I think there was 3 or 4 of them. I don't know how many there were. But that alone is got to be several $100,000. Give it to them. Why not? 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. It seems to be a few of us commented on what I was talking about in the beginning of the show, and that is the Trump version of the Bible, Make America Godly Again. And it is true that religious freedom, and according to the First Amendment, only has to do with the government favoring one religion over the other. For example, if the government said you have to be Catholic, that's not in the cards. That's not according to the Constitution. But if Donald Trump wants to comment on bringing back religion in this country, that's certainly fine. And I believe that's what he's trying to do. The question was, is that appropriate? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it, those things. But the point is that he's not violating, or they're not violating, the First Amendment. But it is true that maybe we should bring back more religion here in this country. That's what we should do. I don't know, but it's certainly, we need something. That's for sure. Dan in Linwood. Dan, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Yeah, update. The archives actually contacted Donald in January and said, "Come and get your."
Hey, Andy, good morning. How are you?
The same boxes they want back are the boxes they said come and get.
Okay.
And that's done by official message, so that's going to be part of the case.
Yeah.
And that stuff laying on the floor, organized.
Okay.
Not really Donald Trump style to throw a mess on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Joe Biden style to throw stuff in an unprotected garage, definitely.
With his Corvette, don't forget that.
Yeah, everything's about the Corvette. Just remember, the most important thing was his wife Jill and the Corvette were saved by the firefighters because the house was going up in flames. Meanwhile, it was a 15-minute affair that they had out in no time, and she called from outside the house. So many lies going on. All these trials are emanating out of Washington because the receipts are in. Fannie Willis and Wade were up there. They billed the White House for all that money for the hours to meet with the folks in the White House. Plus, they build Georgia to get them to Washington and back. How would you like to live in that world where you have a budget that nobody's overlooking? They're having hearings on in Georgia. Why aren't we overlooking this DA budget, which was astronomical?
Oh, we just go along with that, like everything else.
Of course.
Yeah.
And everything is great in Georgia. There was never a problem. But all of a sudden, Donald Trump's saying, hey, they did something with the election, and everybody goes nuts, and they're making charges, but they forget Stacey Abrams, who says, I'm still the governor, even though she lost by a ton of votes.
Yeah.
So how do you mesh that together?
Yeah, if that was Trump, which, all kinds of backlash. But Stacey Abrams, yes, she can say it.
They'd be fitting them for a cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing about being in that cold courtroom and having to be there, there's no reason he even has to be there.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And there's no crime. There never was. This is something that the federal government wanted to stay away from. They didn't want to prosecute. And then Bragg came in and he turned a misdemeanor into a felony. And next thing you know, we have a backfire on the Democrats, because ever since this trial, the polls have gone up precipitously for Trump.
Yeah, that's right. You know what, Dan? I'm going to how about if we make a bet here? A little bet.
Okay.
I think the judge in that trial is leading up to putting Trump in jail. I think he is. And that
would ensure the election.
Yes, that's right. I hope he does. And
on his way to jail, there'd be an order from Judge Alito saying no.
That's right. We gotta run. We're coming up against it, Dan. Thanks for the call. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Lots of calls to get to when we start the 10 o'clock hour. Andy, William, and Frank, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. Nice to have your company for the next couple of hours as we take this little ride here that we call Talk with a Purpose. 609-407-1450. We got a full bank of calls, so let's get right to them. Andy and Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
I want to get into the whole religion thing, and I kind of want to dovetail off of what Bob from Cape May was saying. He mentioned that we don't need another Ronald Reagan. We need another St. Paul. Now, you went to Catholic school.
Yes.
You went to Catholic University, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember who St. Paul was before he was St. Paul?
I think he was Saul, wasn't he?
Yes. And why did Saul change his name?
I think he found God or something.
Well, that's exactly right. That's the short answer. Saul did not live an exemplary life, let's say. And Saul was ashamed of the life that he had lived, and so he changed his name to Paul. And the rest is history.
Yes.
Became one of our greatest saints. So the Bible is full of people who are imperfect vessels who then found God, came around and changed their lives and found great favor with God and did great things. So is it possible, just tossing it out there, is it possible that Donald Trump, now in his 77th year, and having been the president once, and having seen what's happening to this country and the world, is it possible that Donald Trump has maybe some misgivings, maybe some shame about some of the things that he's done in his past, that just like Saul, or are second chances only given to liberals? Because aren't we all about second chances and forgiveness in this country?
That's right. Yeah, I never thought of that. I really never thought of it that way, but that's a good point.
Yeah, so I always tell people, Jesus Christ isn't running for president. And until Jesus Christ does run for president, we have to choose among the candidates we have. And they are sinners. They are imperfect vessels. And the people who complain about Donald Trump, let's remember that they voted for Bill Clinton twice, and they reelected him after he, did what he did in the Oval Office while president.
Yes.
What Donald Trump is sitting in a courtroom in New York City for was supposedly paying hush money to Stormy Daniels. And if he did do that, I'm not saying he did, but if he did do that, it was something that he did long before he was president.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Remember that Bill Clinton actually did pay hush money to Paula Jones to the tune of $850,000 while he was president.
Yes.
So, there's a lot of hypocrisy here. It's like the same stuff with Kristi Noem. All these people beating up on Kristi Noem because she shot a dog 20 years ago that was killing chickens, going after the other dogs, came after her. And she shot this dog 20 years ago. Everybody's attacking her, but yet they voted for Barack Hussein Obama twice, a man who ate dogs. He ate dogs. Do you remember that story?
Yes.
He wrote about it. He wrote about it in his autobiography.
Yes.
He ate dogs as a young child growing up. The same people who are trashing Kristi Noem about shooting a dog 20 years ago have no problem with windmills killing hundreds of whales.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kristi Noem, by the way, Kristi Noem shot that dog. He also bit her dog. Her daughter was young at the time. So he attacked her daughter. Yeah.
So back to the religion thing. Do you remember when President Trump walked across that park carrying the Bible, and he stood in front of St. John's Church holding the Bible?
Yes.
And that church is it's known as the President's Church, the President's Chapel, okay? So this country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, okay? And you know something, John? I say this all the time to people because I get accused of being judgmental. And I said, I liked this country years ago, 50 years ago, when people were more judgmental. And you know why, John? Because the way you and I grew up, you were judged by how you behaved.
That's right.
Your neighbors got to see how you acted.
That's right.
And if you did something wrong, they told your parents about it. Okay.
That's right.
And people behaved better when they knew that there were other people around who would judge them by their behavior. Okay. And Bob made a good point about the destruction of the American family in this country. 50% of American children are born into a single-parent household. And if you look at the black community,
73%.
73% of black children are born into a single-parent household. And this directly correlates to the time in our history when the Democrats stepped in to, quote, help the black community with all these great society programs of the 1960s. Prior to those great society programs, where the federal government started incentivizing women to marry the government instead of marrying the fathers of their children, you had 75% of black children born into a dual-parent household with a mother and a father. And those families went to church, and those families pushed their children to get an education, and they made sure their kids stayed out of trouble. And once the Democrats started incentivizing women to have children without fathers, those children started getting into trouble. And here we are 50 years later.
That's right.
And it went from 75% of black children being born into a two-parent household to 75% of black children being born into a single-parent household.
That's right.
And if you grew up in a single-parent household, that is the greatest predictor of whether you are going to live in poverty, and the poverty that leads to all of the other problems.
Crime and et cetera, yeah.
Of course. And you wonder why you have these teenage boys running around at 3 a.m. with guns, because there are no fathers around.
That's
and
right.
there were no fathers around to put their foots up these boys' asses when they got out of line.
That's right.
And you had the neighbors and the people in the community who judged you by your behavior. No one judges anyone by their behavior anymore, and that's why people do what they do, because they know nobody cares.
Andy, good stuff. Thanks for the call. Boy, that brought back a lot of memories of my mother's neighbors where I grew up. Boy, one time, I won't tell you what exactly happened, but all I'll say is the neighbors told her what they saw. And when my mother came home, then my father came home. Yeah, I heard about it. More than once. William in AC. William, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. Boy, that Andy, he's a tough act to follow, I tell you.
Well, you got to try, William.
Yeah, I tell you, but I think Donald Trump has found the formula to for re-election. By going strong with the Bible.
Yeah,
and that and because I'm still trying to find out. He talked about the 2 Corinthians. He never named them, but he talked about the 2 Corinthians, and that in the Constitution, I think that's the kicker right there. I think when he throws forward, when he goes forward, with this, his full religious rebirth, I think Joe Biden, forget about it. Forget about it.
Does that mean, William, that you would vote for Donald Trump?
No, let's don't go too far.
Well, look, you can have 4 more years of Biden, and you'll be eating dog food in a couple of years. I mean,
well, maybe it won't be that bad, but I heard they talk about how large Donald Trump's, he these rallies, and he had all these people there, and nobody came to Biden's rallies, so it's impossible for Biden to win. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that if Democrats knew that Joe Biden was truly in a coma, they would still come out and vote against Donald Trump.
I agree. I agree with that.
With all the zest that they did the last time, and Donald Trump hasn't made himself more popular since the last election. He hasn't gone out there and won a lot of new friends. So.
Well, I disagree, because according to the polls, and I think a lot of people, again, according to the polls, are disgruntled with Biden and some of the things he's done, particularly with the economy and the prices of things. So, I think maybe
they may be disgruntled with Biden, but Donald Trump's toxic.
Yeah, but he's still better for the economy than Biden. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but well, no, I wouldn't. Heck, no, I wouldn't agree. But the economy. I mean, that's just one issue in 360 issues that we vote for a president. It's not. But Donald Trump, he had Obama's economy, and he. He messed that up,
No, he didn't, William. No, I got to run, William. I got to run.
Okay,
thanks for the call, William. Frank in Northeast Philadelphia. Frank, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, Mr. John DeMasi. How you doing?
Good.
I just, I've known you for quite some time, Dr. Molly. I just found out about your Saturday morning program. I was talking to some great guy earlier this week. Telling me about your station. I love it, John. It's a great, you guys are real smart listeners out there. The last guy said Donald Trump's toxic. I hear that a lot. You know what I say? How's he toxic?
Yeah.
He wants to make America great again. A lot of people probably don't notice. I just found out about a month ago. He was on the Oprah Winfrey show a long time ago, whatever year it was. I don't remember. Oprah asked him, will you run for president? He didn't think of it. He said no. But he also said unless he believed America was about to fall off the cliff. He believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat before he changed parties to run for president. He's not BSing when he says make America great again. We're heading in the wrong direction. And I believe with that one call, it was either Disco or Andy, I forget, a lot of crime because of one-parent household. Again, I'm not knocking single moms or single dads, but kids need two parents. You can be a single mom as long as dad's part of life.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I mean, these kids, their dad's not even paying child support, never mind even seeing the kids.
A friend of mine has two kids, and I won't say what the race of the father is, but hasn't bothered with them since they were born.
I know.
And they're 11 and 9 now. Okay? What's that tell you?
John.
Yeah.
And I worked in the North Philly area, and that's all was out there. I'm saying,
yeah.
It was single moms getting by on welfare. They knew what dad was. Dad was, we won't call it gangbang on the corner. Didn't pay nothing. He was a drug dealer. Gave some money here and there, if that. So it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, Frank,
John, listen,
thank you. Thank you for the call. Thank you.
Have a good one, John.
You too. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG. Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. After the break, we have John and Linda, and then maybe you. Got a couple open lines, 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, we tell you with our sponsors the good stuff. Now we talk about the good stuff. And when it comes to your automobile, there is no finer car on the market today than Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. I told you a friend of mine was driving Brand X a couple years ago. She said, yeah, I got to get out of this car. So I sent her over to Lexus, and Helen took care of her, and she loved the car and went back and got an SUV. So now she's on her second Lexus. How's that for a conversion, huh? We've been talking about religion and conversions. Well, I convert to a Lexus. And that's not the only person. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, online at aclexus.com. aclexus.com is the website. And you check out the website, and you will see pre-owned, you will see brand new, you'll see all kinds of vehicles. And believe me, you don't take my word for it. You test drive it for yourself, and you will see what I've been talking about for years. There is no finer automobile on the market than Lexus. A friend of mine got in the car last week or the week before, and she drove my car. And she said, I can't believe this. This is like floating. I can't believe the ride. Well, that's the typical reaction. Lexus of Atlantic City, again, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online at aclexus.com. aclexus.com is the website. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for libertyandprosperity.com. Everyone who lives near the ocean or the bay knows that we have a bad storm and flooding about every 20 years. Some people want their shore houses built on pilings. However, others like me would rather pay for major repairs and improvements every 20 years than walk up and down an extra set of steps every day. At one time, Americans were free to decide what kind of house we lived in, but not anymore. If you live in any shore town from Brigantine to Cape May, you may not get a permit for new bathrooms or a new kitchen unless you first spend another $75,000 to raise your house 14 feet off the ground. Learn the details and what we can do about it. Visit libertyandprosperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. libertyandprosperity.com.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at comcast.net. jdadv1 at comcast.net. And I heard from Roscoe earlier this week. He was afraid that my show was canceled. You ready for this, Chris? He said, you promote the weekend shows, but you don't say anything about Talk with a Purpose. Well, you were talking about that we were promoting some new shows. And we focused on the new shows without thinking that people may think that the old shows are gone. But the old shows are not gone, like me. So I had to explain that to Roscoe, and I appreciate his concern that he thought, you're not going away, are you? So if you want to email me anything during the week, jdadv1 at comcast.net. That's the website. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. John is back. John in Ocean City. John, welcome back.
Yes, this is my second round. Thank you. It was an Eastern Orthodox bishop just recently, Mari Emanuel. He's not a member of the Archie Bunker White Patriarchy. He's of Assyrian descent from Iraq. He said if President Trump is not reelected, it's all over for America. So take it for what it's worth. But I had some outpatient surgery done on May 1st, Beltane. And I had the nurse standing nearby, and I said, people think I'm a superstitious person, but if I really was, I wouldn't be here right now. She said, how do you mean? I says, well, when Walpurgis not turned into Beltane at the stroke of midnight, many sacrifices were made to old smutty face, Beltane. Be on the lookout. We have a live one here. We might have to make that call to Encore, But the whole thing is that the left-hand path of witchcraft, which is Lucifer worshippers, and the right-hand path, which is Wicca, and the Satanists all celebrate 8 high days, and one of the days is Beltane, May 1st. It is what it is. I mean, but Albert Pike, I mention Albert Pike quite often on this program. Albert Pike, who was rotting up a jail cell at Civil War's end because of atrocities on the battlefield, specifically the Battle of Pea Ridge, where Union soldiers who had already surrendered were cut down under his command. And he was exonerated by Andrew Johnson with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Now, it's harder to prove that he was the founding father of the Klan, but he was the chief judiciary of the KKK, and he was a grand dragon of the Arkansas chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. And he's entombed in a mausoleum, which is a replicated Greek temple in Washington, D.C. This is all fact. These aren't fiction. But here's what, for Albert Pike, he said, for the Luciferian phoenix to rise out of the ash. And understand, when they burned the cross down, those morons burned the cross down. So we're showing a lot of Jesus Christ. No, you're not, moron. You're actually burning the cross to ash so that the new phoenix of a Luciferian age can come out of it. That's the truth of it. But he said that for the Luciferian age to take place in America, this will be the place where it gained a foothold to control the whole world. He said the moral compass of Christians must be taken away. Now, here's what he says about Lucifer. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, son of the morning, is it he who bears the light and with its splendors intolerable, blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not! ! He worshiped Lucifer. His book, Morals and Dogma, he extols Lucifer as being God. He worshipped the devil. So, but what's he doing entombed in a Greek temple in Washington, D.C.? So there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know, But it is time to wake up. Thanks for letting me call in again.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Linda in Absecon. Linda, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, Linda.
So all these people who sort of don't like the fact that President Trump is religious, and now they don't like religion, period. I wonder what their plans are for leaving the earth.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question.
Seriously.
Yeah.
For instance, even yourself, what are your plans for leaving the earth? It's time to die. What are your plans?
I
How's
don't.
it going to happen?
I don't have any plans, really, Linda. I don't.
But how is that going to happen? How do you even leave the earth? How does basically it's this. If you don't think, and everybody out there doesn't think, that they need the same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead, I wouldn't want to go where they're going. You need the Holy Spirit. Jesus said, Jesus said, no one takes my life. I lay it down. He gave his life for us. And he said, and if he didn't do it, the Holy Spirit wouldn't come. And it's the Holy Spirit that's going to raise us from the dead. So maybe everybody might start thinking about going to church again, right? When you look at it that way.
I would say that's a good point.
Yeah, it's the only way you're going to leave, and you're going to live forever, and you're going to live forever somewhere, and you get to choose.
That sounds good, Linda. I'm glad you called.
You're going to church, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. See that? Jesus is so awesome. So, one more thing. President Trump is so awesome. And 2 Corinthians, I'll take it any time. If when he became president, he was a new Christian. And Dr. James Dobson said, I've got to see if this is for real. So he went down, and when Trump won, he checked him out, and he didn't want no phony. So he checked it out. And for the gentleman who has an issue with 2 Corinthians, it would be normally you say 2 Corinthians. There's no problem with 2 Corinthians. It sounds good out of a young Christian's mouth. But look what he did for the Jewish people. Look what he did. He was the only president. Former presidents promised to make Jerusalem. It promised that the United States would make Jerusalem their capital. We would do it on our part.
Yeah,
for us.
But he did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
And, and also James Dobson referred to him, if I didn't already say this, as a baby Christian, and he governs like a Christian, and he governs like a good Christian, because the black people, equity, the black people knew some equity. Black historic colleges, the black people benefited. He was very good. And, love the guy.
Yeah, and more, I think, a friend of mine texted me, more and more, the blacks and Latinos and such are coming towards Trump and really going away from Biden. And I think that's been borne out in some of the surveys.
I think you're right, because I heard that regarding the black males.
Yes.
Black men were really, primarily, I guess the women probably have a lot of control in the black family. So, and what is this thing about, what is this that is, when this gentleman calls your show, the criticisms that come out about President Trump.
Oh, William,
really
yeah.
Are so weak.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they're all. It's almost juvenile.
Yeah, He just wants to be.
He's a nice guy.
adversarial.
And I like listening to him. He's got an interesting voice, great voice, by the way.
Yeah.
I want him to know that. Good. It's just interesting.
Yeah, he's very adversarial.
And affable. He's very affable.
Yeah. Well, I told
and
him.
He likes you.
Yeah, I said.
And you like everybody, and so you're great to call.
Right. Oh, well, I don't like everybody, which I won't get into.
Well, you pretty much as much as you can. You do.
Yeah, that's right. Linda,
you give people a lot of benefit.
Thanks for the call. If I could do a show on my enemies, that would fill up a couple of hours, let me tell you. Alex in Buna. Alex, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, good morning, John. I didn't know for a minute there if I was listening to Coast AM.
Well,
anyway, it's. I think the previous caller proved my point. Trump overall, the best of two awful choices. Trump overall might be better than Biden, but this speaking about him in terms of messianic adulation, he's not a savior, he's a politician. So let's not forget that, folks. Anyway, I wanted to call John last week, there were a lot of calls you had about Pearl Harbor.
Yes,
and I could not call in.
We got on to a track of Pearl Harbor that started with Bob, who said we shouldn't have bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and so it just went from there.
Well, I'm a self-certified history nut, and I'm going to tell you that for all the callers, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. There's no argument that dropping the bomb ended the war sooner. But the argument, and a lot of nations do this when their armies commit atrocious acts and civilians get killed, they have to come up, they have to kind of rationalize it in their mind. So the thing that was sent out was, well, if we didn't do that, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of American soldiers would have died. But right before the atomic bombs were dropped for probably 2 or 3 months, we were doing high altitude bombing of most of Japan, especially their industrial areas, 24/7. They had no Navy to speak of. They had no Air Force, no air defense. So they were suffering. They were continually suffering for quite a while. I think, in my opinion, from what I read, Germany had surrendered. The economy in the United States had improved by the end of 44. In fact, people started taking vacations again. And we had spent all this money developing that weapon before the Germans and Japanese did. And I think from the top down, people were just tired of the war. And they said, we want this thing over with. But what they forget is that there was an attempted coup in Japan to get rid of the emperor and for the military to take over because he had said, I think it's time to surrender. So nothing is black and white. And like I said, I wouldn't argue that didn't end the war faster, but was it really necessary? In my opinion, since they were already bombing them 24/7 and they had no military to speak of, I don't know that it was necessary. Anyway, I just thought I'd call that in because I'm a great believer, John, that the truth always lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Alex, thanks for the call. Yeah, I guess that's true. We never know the complete truth, but we get pieces of it, and then things come out years later, and so then we find out the truth. Bob in Cape May is back. Bob, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, John. Hey, look, this debate doesn't want to stop about World War II.
That's right. See what you started?
Well, hey, look, just wanted to respond to William. I think somebody has to say this, John. I mean, the economic numbers. When William said that Trump messed up Obama's economy, what planet is he living on?
I don't know, but under
Obama, we had hardly any economic growth. the median family income under Trump was twice as high in 3 years versus 16 years of Obama and Bush. So what Trump did for the working class of this country, the numbers don't lie. And the Trump tax cuts, the Trump policies regarding trade and developing good-paying manufacturing jobs, all those worked. Absolutely, they worked, and they worked wonderfully. And the only reason that Trump economy went downhill was because of COVID, which
That's
Trump
right.
had no control over.
That's right. That's right.
And you hear these numbers that the Biden administration, the lies that come up, that Biden created all these jobs. Well, of course, we were still recovering from the COVID disaster, which again Trump had nothing to do with. Okay, that was that was nothing. You can't blame Trump for that. Who can blame Trump for a virus that was created in a Chinese laboratory and allowed to spread all over the world by the communist Chinese? Who can blame Trump for that?
That's right. Well, they blamed him for calling it the China virus. Remember that?
Yeah, but to say Obama's economy was so wonderful, I mean, come on.
No.
Yeah, we had like 1% to 2% economic growth. I don't even know if we ever had 2%.
Yeah.
In 1 year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the growth was minimal during the Obama years, and when Trump came in, he kind of really shot it up. And the pandemic, besides, Trump fast-tracked the vaccine.
And John, the lies that come continually from the Democrat communist playbook. The Trump tax cuts only benefited the few wealthy, the wealthy people. Well, that's not true. Just plain not true. The vast majority of those tax cuts that Trump initiated benefited working people.
That's right. That's right.
Those are the true numbers.
Yeah.
So, right, exactly. I mean, the Trump tax cuts were very, very minuscule. They went down a little bit for the top 1%. They did, but not much compared to the middle class. That's who Trump wanted the tax cuts to be targeted to. So,
yeah,
that's reality.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, William.
Bob, thanks a lot for the call again. 609-407-1450. Got some open lines if you want to jump in here. Good time to get in on the program. 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. I'm going to read this story, and maybe Linda will call back. But there is no question that the Democrats will use abortion to no end to try to win this campaign. There is a TV ad, and I saw it the other day, and I'm trying to remember it. But they show a woman who is a doctor. She got pregnant, and they said the fetus wouldn't live, and she was afraid she couldn't get an abortion. While she's saying that, on the screen, it showed how many states were restricting abortions. And, it was like a escalating scale. They showed, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, something like that. And, of course, it comes down to Donald Trump did this. Donald Trump is to blame for all of that. And let's face it, the Democrats are going to use this as a major issue because That's all they have. What else do they have? Can you think of something else they can say that they've done right? No, not that this is right, but they're going to use this to scare people into, how many other liberties are they going to take away? Besides, on the other hand, in Arizona, we heard about this bill. It was from 1864, and it banned abortion in most cases except a life-threatening situation. Well, Governor Katie Hobbs signed a bill this week repealing the law. So the effort to repeal that long-dormant law won final legislative approval Wednesday. So now the new Arizona law would ban abortions after 15 weeks. Of course, Biden won't say that in his TV ad. Okay. 609-407-1450. Paul's on the line, and we'll talk to him after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you. 609-407-1450. Talk with a purpose of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 FM. I'm John DeMasi. Coming back with more after these words.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. BF Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, BF Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. BF Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather for South Jersey. For this afternoon, cloudy and cool, a stray shower, the afternoon high 60. Cloudy skies for tonight with a low of 50. We'll see occasional rain tomorrow as we wrap up the weekend. We'll see a high of 62. Humid and warmer Monday. Cloudy skies in the morning with a shower in spots, then times of clouds and sun for the afternoon with a thunderstorm in spots. Monday's high 78. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, and we always like to mention that you can listen to any of our shows at any time. What a marvelous invention. It's called the podcast. And what you do is you Google John DeMasi podcasts, and all the shows come up, over 200 shows. So you can listen to them at any time, any place, as long as you have a device. You can listen to Talk with a Purpose anywhere, anytime, any place. It's just a marvelous, marvelous invention. You Google John DeMasi podcasts, and all the shows come up. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Paul in EHT. Paul, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks.
I would just like to add my 2 cents to about going to church. I had a Catholic priest tell me one time that only 19% of adults in the United States attend church. He said, I'm a Catholic priest, and my sister doesn't even go to church.
Jeez.
Now, I look forward each Sunday to taking 1 hour and thanking Jesus for the gift that he gives me, eternal life, because I don't want to go the other place, okay? And on Sunday, 1 hour a day is not too much to thank Jesus for paying for all my sins with his life on a cross. Okay, to me it's a no-brainer. I look forward to going to church and singing praises to Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's another vote for church.
Absolutely, and one other thing I would like to say is that President Obama wrote 3 books, and at one time I had all 3 of his books and I read them, and it seems to me that President Obama, I felt sorry for him because his father didn't want him. He ran off to Kenya after he got Obama's mother pregnant. Obama's mother didn't want him. She gave him to her parents, and Obama was, even though he hates white people, he was raised by
a white woman. Yes, his grandmother. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And that they fed and clothed him. Okay. Now another thing too. After reading his books, I really wonder, how does a kid who admittedly skipped school and went to the beach and smoked dope with his friends, how does he wind up in one of the hard schools to get into, Harvard Law School? How does that happen? It happens because somebody wanted to back him, okay, and that
yes,
guy's name is George Soros, who wants to destroy the United States of America.
Oh, that's very true. And thanks for the call, Paul. Appreciate it. That is absolutely true. George Soros, boy, he does want to destroy this country. Yeah, that's true. Obama was raised by his grandmother, who was white. And, you know, there's a disconnect somewhere there. I mean, we could talk forever about that. Michael in Egg Harbor City. Michael, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling, Michael.
I follow up with the gentleman's dependency on a power much greater than myself, and I participate in a adoration and understanding how important God is in our lives. And I'm bringing out my subject matter today is concerning censorship, and we know that the schools have been providing censorship and also indoctrination for approximately 60 years now, and we're witnessing its final product, or its product, not its final product, in the college campuses, and so we're witnessing that. And I had the misfortune. We go to the airport. We're in a trapped environment. We're subjected to CNN, and we have nothing to say about it.
That's right. Yeah.
But I have participated in my physical growth, and I go to Planet Fitness out in Mays Landing, and they took Fox News off. And I was set back, and I went to the manager and I said, "How come you have removed the two stations of Fox News from the bank of 20 TVs you have?" And she looked at me and said, "Corporate decision."
Oh.
So I'm just letting people know that maybe it was an isolated incident, but it's been on for 2 weeks now. And
how about that?
Yes, and here we have something to do. If our listeners pick up the phone and call Planet Fitness in Mays Landing and tie up their phones, that'll be a subtle protest.
Yeah, you know what else? You know what else will do it, Michael? How about this?
Go ahead.
How about if you go in and a lot of people go in and say, "I'm canceling my membership. I'm going to go over to Island Gym."
Well, that's the next step.
Yeah.
Well, they've also ran into the problem in the corporate world in Virginia when they were letting a transgender man change in the female locker room with adults.
Jeez.
And the adult females voiced their opinion. But it's the corporate America that think that this is okay.
Yeah.
And we as conservatives roll over. Well, it's an easy fix. Just tie up their phones and tie up their computers, call them and let them know that we won't join.
That's right.
Hopefully they'll get the message.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The educational system, school choice and I'll quiet with this. School choice enables us to, number one, provide a better finished product in the education value that the children get.
Yes.
It's not censored. It's either a religious-based or a private school that instills early learning, and it continues through college. Now, along with doing that, we eliminate the number of teachers that will be sucking the pension and the health benefits from our tax structure.
Yes. Yes.
And also, we have an opportunity to watch the growth of children in a much spiritual way. John, I want to thank you, and you have a pleasant
You too.
enjoyable day, kid.
Thanks for the call. Thank you, Michael. 609-407-1450. Yeah, that's I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they took Fox off. One time I went into a potential client and talking about the show and what we do here and so on and so forth. And this is what the owner of the business said to me. I don't want to advertise on your station. Why? Well, because you're a Fox affiliate. All right. Yeah, and, people are going to be offended by that. And they're not going to come into my store. I said, what? You see that connection? Of course, it was an excuse. That's really what it was. But he said, oh, people are going to be offended that I advertise on your show. But how are they making the connection? It really boggles the mind. It really does. But that's typical corporate America. Greg in Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. Massey, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The amazing thing about the U.S. citizen, we have no power until we speak in unison, and then it can really hurt.
Yeah.
Perfect example is Budweiser was king. The byword was. They were brought to their knees because of their position on something stupid.
Yes.
And they earned the value of, or they learned the value of what can happen.
Yes,
and
that's right.
And it did happen.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this a couple times. We keep looking for November 5 to solve our problems. We have an Article 25. It can solve it tomorrow. I don't know why we just don't write the president and give him the opportunity to resign, and the vice president. I reread Article 25. The parameters that actions can be taken by the president, by the vice president, by the House, the Senate, to resolve a situation that exists right now, and absolutely nothing is being done about it. He's not performing his job. He's incapable of performing. And the beat goes on. And we're supposedly just for another 6 or 7 months under these conditions. Not necessary.
Yeah. I think what the thing there is, it would be hard to really prove that we know he's doing a bad job. I mean, everything he touches, it turns to crap. That's simple. But it's hard to prove because that's a subjective thing. You follow me, Greg? That's why they probably don't go that route.
So the end result is you look at everything he touches.
Yeah, well, right.
Right now, he's trying to destroy the car industry. He's doing a hell of a job of it.
Yes.
They're producing a car for $130,000 or $140,000, and they're charging the client You want a new car? It's cost us $170,000 to produce it. You can have it for $45,000.
Yeah.
How long do you think they're going to stay in business?
Not too long. Not too long.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Trump was the most unpolitical president we ever had. He ruled to all the people. And it was so obvious looking back. He had no parameters. Whatever had to be done, he hit it head on, and he tried to solve it, and many times he got the booby prize every time he won.
Yeah.
And regardless of who was standing in front of him, they moved.
Yeah.
Our enemies were no longer our enemies. They just turned around and left the field. He did a job nobody appreciates what he accomplished, but he was the president of all the people.
That's
Everyone.
right. That's right. Some will say he wasn't, but Greg, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate that. 609-407-1450. We're going to start the 11 o'clock hour with a clean slate, which means we have some open lines. So if you want to jump in now, you'll be the first to get in. 609-407-1450. In the next hour, we're going to talk about Miss America is back in the news. I mean, we used to talk a lot here on the show about Miss America, and it used to be a part of our fabric here in Atlantic County. What is it today? I have no idea. But wait till you hear how far they've fallen. 609-407-1450. Some open lines you want to jump in. 609-407-1450. Talk with the purpose of the show. Hour number 2 in the books. Hour number 3 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And as the man said, I'm John DeMasi. A lot of ways to listen to our show. It's Talk Radio 95.5 FM. On AM, it's 1450. And online, it's WPGTalkRadio.com. So you can't escape us. You got to listen. 609-407-1450. 609-407-1450. We'll get to your calls in just a moment. I got to tell you, this is a story of how the mighty have fallen. Remember Miss America? I mean, you could set your watch by the time of year. Well, we have the girls coming in, and we have the chaperones, and we have the parade. Thank you. I couldn't think of the parade, and Harry covered the parade, and it was just a fabulous thing. And now, I mean, I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this, and I want to see if you can answer it. It seems like ever since it left Atlantic City, and it was becoming less and less relevant then, and, well, whatever, but it was still, some kind of buzz around here and across the country. A familiar name has surfaced in this dispute against Miss America. Glenn Straub. You remember him? He's the guy that bought the Revel for a fish cake. It had been built for like $1.4 billion, and he bought it for 200 and some million, and he never opened it, waiting for somebody else to come and buy it for a lot more money, and they did. So, I mean, he was eccentric, and I guess he still is. And now he owns companies that acquired the Miss America pageant. He's owned that since 2022. He is suing Miss America's CEO for $20 million. He says he terminated Robin Fleming, who's the CEO, in April, but she claims to still be in charge. So he's suing her for $20 million. Plus, she has supposedly paid herself hundreds of thousands of dollars without permission. We'll see how this plays out. Now I want to ask, here's the question, all right? Does anybody know when Miss America is, and does anybody know what network or TV channel it's on? I just want to know if you know, because I don't know. It used to be, it was on ABC. It was national television. It isn't anymore. I know that, but I don't know where it is. 609-407-1450 if you want to chime in on that. You want to chime in on anything else we're talking about here on the show. 609-407-1450. John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome back. Oh, well, you know what? We're all going to chip in, right? And we're going to get him a new phone, right? He has more problems with his phone. For a guy that calls a radio station as much as he does, has problems with his phone. Oh, but anyway, I want to know, do you know where you can see Miss America? And when is it? I mean, the last time I remember, it was sometime in December, like around Christmas time, which to me, that's not the time to do that. Oh. 609-407-1450. Alex in Buna is back. Alex, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning. Well, I'll try and answer your question. I think the last time they had the pageant, it was up in one of the casinos in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I think it was on like the Rural and Farm channel. I'm not making that up. It was on some obscure cable channel. But you know who you could thank for that besides Glenn Straub? Was Gretchen Carlson, who used to be on Fox News.
Yes, yes.
You know, the channel, as Michael Savage used to call it, the channel of the painted ladies, short skirts and lots of cleavage. Well, if you remember, she sued for millions and millions and millions.
Yes.
She sued Fox. Of course, it didn't prevent her from taking the job in the first place.
Right.
Then she took over the Miss America pageant, and this is not going to be about bathing suits and this and that. This is going to be about the intelligence of women, blah, 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 and the thing sunk like a lead balloon. But anyway, yes. I didn't call about that. I wanted to call about these quote-unquote protests on campuses around the country.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible. I think in some parts of the world they'd call it riots, but this is the United States, where the American news media, you know, it's killing them because Biden came in. He finally got up out of his recliner, you know, the lift chair, and he said something. But you know, I was talking to someone, and fella's a nice guy. In fact, he's a radio host, and we were talking about this. And I said, "Well, it's the usual suspects." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "If you look," I said, "there may be students at these protests." I said, "But you see the covered face with the black handkerchief, you see the backpack, you see 20 or 25 of the same pop-up tents." I said, "This is Antifa and BLM,
known Marxist organizations, if you read their rhetoric and listen to their speeches.
Yeah.
So he said to me, well, how do you know it's Antifa and BLM? I said, because it got covered for about 5 minutes by the mainstream media. I said, Northeastern University, the first day they told them to leave. But before they did that, the administration went around, at least they showed they had some coyotes. They went around and they asked them if they were students there. Most of the people at this protest with the backpacks and everything were not students. So they called the police in. They told them to leave. They wouldn't. They called the police and had them removed because that's a private university. Anyway, so what we have here is these professional rioters being paid by the Soros organization, we find out, the Rockefeller Foundation, poor John D., that skinflint, he's probably spinning in his grave.
Yeah.
And he said, but he said to me, well, yeah, but how do you, I said, I'll put it to you this way, Bill. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
That's right.
These are the same thing. Now, isn't it funny that you have Biden and other Democrats? You need a peaceful demonstration, and that's when you ruin property and attack people. That's not a peaceful demonstration. All of Biden's voice and the whole 99.9% of the Democrats, when they were burning down Racine, Wisconsin, during the George Floyd thing, which had nothing to do with George Floyd, and they were destroying cities, they never said you need to protest peacefully.
That's right. They didn't. No.
And another thing the media is not covering, on many campuses, University of North Carolina, the latest, the students who are not involved in this or support Israel, they're going into these camps of theirs and they're tearing them apart. They're protecting the U.S. flag. Happened in Arizona, it's happened elsewhere. Where you see it tolerated, University of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Even Princeton.
Columbia. Yeah.
The thing of it is that if you're going to have, I just don't understand, John, and I think Trump should have tried how they never declared Antifa a terrorist organization.
No, I don't. That's a good question.
You listen to their rhetoric, and the only thing, John, you and I missed a great investment opportunity here, because I can't figure out how they got so many. That would be Palestinian flags. Have you ever seen so many Palestinian flags?
No, I haven't.
And finally, when they went into Hamilton Hall, which they got thrown out of in Columbia, did you notice that as they were breaking in, there were news cameras there? How did the news people know to go in there and to film these idiots? This stuff, look, I agree with this girl whose family came from Russia, and she used to be a lefty, and now she's on the right. Her name is Misha. I can't remember her last name. She says, I'm an American now. I want to see the American flag. I don't want to see the Israel flag. I don't want to see the Palestinian flag.
Yeah.
If it's an ethnic celebration, fine. But this idea that, you think that your ethnic background flag supersedes everything else is ridiculous. And, I just wish that, it's not going to happen. Like in Philly, you got Krasner over there.
Oh, geez.
He's not going to do anything.
No.
So anyway, I just thought that I'd point that out.
Yeah.
That these people are paid protesters. They established that they're getting something like $2,000 a week. So they're not even students.
No. Listen, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, had the right idea. He told them it's not going to happen in Florida. You're going to be expelled if you protest. You're not going to take over. You're not going to put tents on the lawn, and that's it. And there's been nothing in Florida. So, right. That's how it should be handled. But, at Penn and all of the Columbia, they're weak. The leaders are weak.
Well, they tried it in Texas, and they did go for about a day, and the governor of Texas said, no, not in this state.
That's right.
And it was Boston, which is very liberal, and they put an end to it there. That's what has to be done.
Yes.
You have to say, no, you can't do this. But like you say, it's not only Penn and Columbia; it's the prosecutors in those cities who were paid by Soros. They got elected by Soros, and they just refuse to do anything.
That's right. That's right. They sure do. Alex, thanks again for the call. Appreciate it. Boy, reminds me of the 60s all over again. I know I never participated in any of those protests. I always thought, what good did it do? But, I mean, these people protesting for Palestine, I'll bet you a lot of them don't know where Palestine is. I mean, it's ridiculous. Just want to mention one other thing. This story about Kristi Noem. Have you heard this story? We touched on it earlier. She is probably one of the leading candidates for Trump to be the vice president on his ticket. So Kristi Noem, who is the governor of South Dakota, she wrote a book, and the outpouring of social media in response to this, she admitted in her book that she killed a family dog and a goat in a gravel pit with a gun on the same day. Now, of course, social media, she killed a dog, she killed a goat, she's horrible. Doesn't tell you. She did it for a reason. The dog was very aggressive, and it attacked her daughter, who was little at the time, like 5, 6. Guess what? The dog attacks my grandson. He's not a dog anymore. He's 6 feet under. Okay? That's how I feel. So, according to Kristi Noem, they both were very aggressive. And as I said, the dog tried to bite, I think she had 2 kids, small children at the time. Of course, the Democrats had a field day, and with this issuing a statement, our message is plain and simple. If you want elected officials who don't brag about brutally killing their pets as part of their self-promotional book tour, then listen to our owners and vote Democrat. Do you believe that? Now, you're not going to vote for Kristi Noem because she killed a dog and a goat 20 years ago? It's ridiculous. 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We'll talk to John in Ocean City, and maybe we'll talk to you. Some open lines, 609-407-1450. Yeah, we'll talk about Trump again and some other things still in the news. 609-407-1450. Back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Oh, we're back. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 FM. Also 1450 AM and always online, WPGTalkRadio.com. That's the website. Good stuff on there as well. 609-407-1450. Let's talk to John in Ocean City. John, good morning.
Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me call in again. Now, since the Clinton administration, what have they been saying? It's the economy, stupid. Well,
right.
Right. So, I mean, President Trump, that's his winning hand. Now, as of March 31st, 2024, the GDP, the gross domestic product, was 1.6%. Anything below 3% is subanemic. 3% is just about above water. And first year in office, President Trump took Barack Obama's 2%. The end of Barack Obama's reign of terror, his presidency, was December 31st, 2016, and the GDP was 2%. That's subanemic. President Trump, the first year in office, from January 17th to December 31st, 2017, it shot up to 4.6%. So that's a very healthy GDP. So, yeah, we have every reason to vote for this, man. And, you know, I don't feel like spending $5 for a freaking carton of eggs and $3 or $4 for a loaf of bread. It's ridiculous.
Neither do I.
So,
neither do I.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, we if you're not registered to vote, why aren't you? Your vote does count. We have to come out in numbers and get them back in office again. Thanks for letting me call in a fourth time. Thanks.
All right, John. Thanks for the call. John, get a new phone, okay? That's happened many times here on the show. Linda in Absec, and Linda, welcome back.
How did you know it was me?
Magic. It's just magic.
See, amazing.
Linda, it's called, I'll let you in on a little secret. It's called caller ID.
That little thing. So, who would you like for vice president?
Who would I vote for? Well, if Trump puts up Kristi Noem, I'd vote for her.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, she's protecting her kids by killing a dog who attacks her daughter when she was little. I mean,
isn't that what they used to do even up here in the northeast?
Yeah,
if a dog bites you, or bites a child or something,
that's right.
They sometimes get shot.
Yeah, but I don't know what the big brouhaha is over this killing the dog. I mean.
20 years ago.
Yeah, it's the Democrats. Let's put it that way.
Really. So I would, boy, this is really tough, because this just can't happen with DeSantis. I would like to see DeSantis as vice president.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, Linda.
I mean, with the Florida thing, you can't have.
Definitely. I mean, I would, but because it's a natural progression. DeSantis, in 4 years, runs for president. But
I mean, can you have the president and vice president from the same state?
Sure. There's no law. There's no law against that.
Okay.
They typically don't do it because they want to pick other areas of the country.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, right.
But I'm telling you, DeSantis is still so good. I was listening to a comment he just made something, and he was really righteously indignant about it, and he was absolutely right. And he's got the stuff. He's got the stuff to be a good president one day.
Yeah, he does.
My husband really likes Ben Carson, but he'd be a DeSantis person first, I believe.
Yeah.
And but what's not to like about Ben Carson? And he is smart as a whip.
Did your husband watch that movie on Netflix about Ben Carson? And I can't think of the name of it, but it is. It might be.
Really? If he didn't, he didn't tell me.
It might be the Ben Carson story. I don't know, but Cuba Gooding Jr. played Ben Carson. And it is a really wonderful story about how he pioneered some surgeries that...
he operated on a fetus's brain.
Yes, he did, yes.
And, but they were amazing during the 16 primary.
Yeah, he really, really great story. And
during that, Trump and look, just really, I think, I can't think of the fellow's name. The fellow, I like his voice. He's a little hard on Republicans, but not really. What the heck did he say? No, I forget it.
Well,
in and out. So anyway, Yeah.
Well,
So DeSantis and
thanks for the call.
Ben Carson.
Thanks, Laura, Linda. Appreciate it. Yeah, Ben Carson. If you get a chance to watch that movie, it is a really remarkable story. Some of the surgeries he did, it's just unbelievable. Lori in EHT. Lori, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Oh, I got the bell, John. Hey, hi, John. It's Lori. Hi. I just want to make a comment on the Christine Nome comment. You know who I am, and I love the animals. And
yes,
I'm a staunch Republican, but I don't. To me, Democrat or Republican, what she did to that dog. First of all, let me clarify a little bit. Okay, it was a 14-month-old pointer, a pointer, which is a prey-driven dog. Obviously, she goes pheasant hunting. She does all of these type of hunting situations.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm against it, but that's her thing. That's fine. Here's the thing. And the goat, okay, I'm going to clarify that also. The goat, the children used to be dressed up, and the goat used to come by the kids, and the kids wanted to play with the goat. The goat would get the children's outfits dirty. So she took both of them, I would imagine, at different times, down to a gravel pit and shot them. Now, the goat jumped up from the gravel pit, and she shot it up in the air, and it went down, of course, and it died. As far as the dog goes, okay, John, we live in the United States of America, and hopefully we're all humane when it comes to people and animals. What she didn't do, she could have called rescue. She could have had the dog trained. She could have given the dog to a farm where really it could have run free. To do what she did, to me, is one of the most inhumane things I've ever heard. And as far as I'm concerned, I would never want to see someone in that position as vice president, with that inhumane attitude. What she said is, you've got to get down and dirty sometimes to get your hands dirty to get things done. I mean, who wants to hear that? I mean, there's people that don't love animals. I understand that. But you do the humane thing. You bring it to a rescue. You have it trained. And there is a rescue for every single breed that's out there. If she's that intelligent, she should have never gotten that type of a breed that's a prey breed.
Yeah, that's the mistake she made. That's the mistake. Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, to me, Lori, look, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
I never had a dog. I never had a cat. My parents were against animals in the house, but I don't mind people who have dogs. I mean, if they want to have dogs. I mean, my niece's mother-in-law, she rescues dogs. She has 3 rescues. So, I mean, I get it. But when it comes to children and a dog attacks, I'm sorry, I agree with her. I mean, I know, and I know who you are, and I know you advocate for animals, but I'm sorry. A child's life is more important than a dog's life.
John, wait, let me clear, if you don't mind. I don't mean to interrupt you. She didn't. The dog didn't bite the children. It went to bite her when she was trying to pull it off the chickens. Jumped out of her car. It attacked the chickens, which is awful. I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
But she should have had the dog contained. The dog didn't bite her. It bite the children. I totally agree. It bit her, and she didn't like that. And she states, I hated that dog. Look, I mean, I understand. Of course, children are children. I totally agree. And you have to watch when your dog is around children at a young age. I'm not for that. I don't even believe people should have a dog until children are older and the dog is being watched.
Yes,
but
yes.
She could have had the dog rescued to bring a 14-month-old puppy, really still, anxious puppy on top of it, into a gravel pit and shoot. Oh my gosh! I mean, I can't even fathom that. That is cruelty.
Well, yeah, but I guess that's prevalent in South Dakota.
You're right.
Yeah,
it's
I mean that
in all those states.
Yeah, they don't think anything of it, but we're here on the East Coast and we're going, well, that's So yeah, you're right. But Lori, I appreciate your call and your input. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. What do I want to talk about here? Oh, this is interesting. I want to give you some stats on how voters feel in this election, in this upcoming election. Half of Pennsylvania voters feel that they are worse off financially than a year ago, according to a recent Franklin and Marshall College poll. Of those reasons, they are inflation and the increased cost of living. So it's coming to bite Biden in the you-know-where. A March poll by the Economist YouGov shows more voters are now citing inflation and the cost of living as their top issue rather than jobs and the economy. Hopefully this stays with them till the election. Then how about this? I like this. And really, this is where I think this economy thing and the price of everything affects the Gen Z and millennial voters, ages 18 to 35. Because let's face it, our generation, we've had our home, we've probably paid it off. So, you know, we're in better shape. But that generation, they are freaking out about the economy. They're putting it as their top concern. Then an Axios Vibes survey by the Harris poll shows that 60% of Hispanics are more stressed out about their household budget today than they were before the pandemic. Wow. And finally, in another Franklin and Marshall poll, Pennsylvanians felt Trump was better able to handle the economy than Biden, 48 to 39%. Good stuff. Looking good. Andy in Brigantine is back. Andy, welcome back.
Hey, good morning. I'm enjoying your show here.
Oh, it's another Andy. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm not as. The other Andy, who is the longtime resident down here. He makes brilliant commentary. I love listening to that guy. I'm the guy from Philadelphia that has a vacation home, and I come down here and I love listening to you. I don't want to go into ancient history. My head is still spinning from that dumbbell Dave that called you a month ago. Yeah. I won't go into that. I thought you were you were very kind to him to let him go on and on. Anyway, the comment I wanted to make was, you know, I'm watching some of the news coverage about these. They're basically riots on some of these left-wing liberal campuses.
Oh yes.
There's no other way to describe it. And they seem like they all have shields, they all have gas masks, they all have uniforms. Anyway. There was a comment the other night, I think it might have been on Fox, I'm not sure, it might have been on CBS, that when they started to look a week or so ago at who some of these agitators were, they're not students. But here's the interesting thing. Someone made the comment that many of them, however, are here on expired student visas. Expired, which meant they should have been kicked out of here a long time ago.
That's right.
Expired student visas. Let's think about this. The 9/11 terrorists that flew the airplane, several of them were here on expired visas.
Yeah.
Several of them were here. They should have been kicked out of here before they had an opportunity to graduate from flight school.
Right.
So I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing all these comparisons, and I'm seeing the weak response from the campus president. You know, I live in downtown Philadelphia. Some of my friends' children went to Penn. They went to Wharton. They're business people. They're smart. The Penn campus has always been very left-wing liberal. During the previous election, when Trump ran the first time, there were Iranian students that were here legally on student visas that wanted to have a small gathering to support Donald Trump. And when they put up signs on the Penn campus, guess who tore them down? The left-wing students tore them down.
Yeah.
The left-wing students at the Penn campus verbally attacked some of these Iranian kids. They tore the signs down. The Penn campus, Elizabeth Warren had a no-show job for $400,000 a year while she ran for the Senate. So I see all these comparisons here, but now I see, I felt so good this morning when someone made the comment on the news that, thank God, our wonderful CIA is meeting with Hamas and communicating with Biden. This is the CIA that didn't see 9/11 coming.
Yes.
This is the CIA and the FBI that didn't understand why this lunatic McVeigh was buying 300,000 pounds of nitrates to make explosives in a truck to blow up a federal building. This is the CIA and the FBI that didn't see the previous bombing of the World Trade Center when they drove a truck into the basement and blew it. This is the CIA that is now in the Middle East meeting with Hamas to help us resolve this problem we have. And you know what? In this country, when I see the media and I see a lot of these universities, I would say 90% of them hate Israel.
Yeah.
I think that they hate Israel. Now, I do want to make a comment, though, about Israel. I personally, in Philadelphia, where we have many good places to eat, I'm personally upset by the fact that Israel now is occupying many of the good Jewish delicatessens and Jewish bakeries. I can't get a good bagel now for less than $2 with an extra slab of cream cheese. I think Israel's got their finger in control of all these wonderful Jewish delicatessens and bakeries, and I think that's why the price of bagels has gone up dramatically.
Well, maybe you can stop by the local Acme. Maybe they have a sale on bagels on the weekends.
And I'll tell you, let me make one more comment, then I'll let you go because I know you have other people waiting. In my neighborhood, I have a lot of lovely Jewish families. Their kids go to good schools. In my neighborhood, I have one or two Israeli families. These are people that came here from Israel. When you talk to the Israelis, especially some of them that served in the IDF, you get a whole different spin on what's going on over there than what you get from my liberal neighbors that say, well, we have to deal with the problem of Netanyahu. I wish we had Netanyahu here and we sent Biden over there. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a real dichotomy, though. When you speak to Israelis, my Israeli neighbors, they go back and forth to Israel occasionally because they have family there. When my neighbor comes home, I say, did they bomb you while you were there visiting your family? I say, only a couple of rockets went up. But, I mean, it's a whole different perspective when you talk to Israelis and then you talk to folks that have been living here after generation and generation. I did a survey at Christmas. I'm an attorney. I belong to some professional groups. And when I met with my Jewish associates, I asked them what they thought about Israel and the Middle East. All the trouble hadn't started yet. It wasn't as dramatic as it is now. And I would say probably 90% of them, their comment was, yes, it is a problem with Hamas. We've got to do something about Netanyahu. I'm going to get off the phone. You let me speak a long time. I appreciate it. I love your show. When I'm down here on Saturday, the streets are clean. There's no gunshots. There's no muggings. There's no robberies. And I can get up and listen to you. I can't get Dom Giordano, but you know him, and he's a great guy. I get to listen to you. God bless you, and I'll be listening for the rest of the show. Maybe I'll call in another month or so.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andy. Thanks for the call. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. We got a couple minutes left of the show. We still have time to take several of your calls. We'll talk to Greg in Absecon after the break, and then maybe we'll talk to you. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Coming back, more show after these words.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. BF Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, BF Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. BF Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather for South Jersey for this afternoon. Cloudy and cool, a stray shower, the afternoon high 60. Cloudy skies for tonight with a low of 50. We'll see occasional rain tomorrow as we wrap up the weekend. We'll see a high of 62. Humid and warmer Monday. Cloudy skies in the morning with a shower in spots. Then times of clouds and sun for the afternoon with a thunderstorm in spots. Monday's high 78. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at comcast.net. jdadv1 at comcast.net. Email me anything you like, pro or con, or a question, or whatever. jdadv1 at comcast.net. That's the way you do it. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We have Greg in Absecon back. Greg, welcome back.
Mr. Massey, good morning, David.
Good morning, sir.
Our attention span, they say it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We're into the second range now. Seconds. From the beginning of paragraph to where we are right now. What's going on? It's like what happened in Israel is forgotten.
Yeah.
As far as 1,200 people being assassinated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And killed and just they were barbarians that committed it. It's all forgotten about. Now we're more concerned with what's happening in this country, and it's like Israel has been thrown off to the side.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same thing is happening right now. It's starting already where they're trying to get us to bite into abortion as a primary issue within this election, and
That's
it is not.
Exactly right. Because, well, think about it, Greg. What else do they have? They can't really talk about the economy. They can't really talk about inflation because they've ruined it. They have ruined everything.
Exactly. If we take our eye off the prize, the key items are what they failed in, and that's what we should be concentrating on.
That's right. That's right. Then there are several issues that we can concentrate on. Believe me. But they're I mean, you have to see that commercial for Biden, and it's talking about a woman who had a fetus, and it was going to be born with a lot of handicaps and so on. So she got an abortion, and she had trouble getting an abortion, but finally she got it. And she said, this is all Donald Trump's fault. And then they roll on the screen how many states have restricted abortions, like 23 states. That's not the issue here. It's not the issue. Plain and simple.
Right.
Thanks for the call again, Greg. Appreciate it. Chuck and Absec. And Chuck, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, John. Good afternoon. Or actually, good morning still. Seth was very sobering with his depiction about what's going on with the wind turbines. We discussed it a little bit last week, how they took away home rule, okay?
Yes.
That the beach communities can't have a say on what's going to be right offshore in their face,
Which I don't understand that at all. I have no understanding at all of how they.
I have a novel idea on how to put an end to it. Maybe we can get Jack Ciattarelli in as governor, and maybe we can get Trump in as president, because this is where it seems to be coming from, is the governor's office.
Yeah.
And the president right now. Now, how's it working out with the electric cars? not doing too good, is it?
No.
Because the market are rejecting it because they know it's a farce and it's a scam. And it's the same thing with these wind turbines.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They have them up in New England. Do you realize it's blowing up the scallop industry up there? That's what's going to happen here. Now, scallops are a delicacy, and they're already very expensive.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me, the people that are all for the green energy and the Green New Deal don't seem to be worried about the killing of the dolphins, the whales, and now you can add the scallops to the list. For what? In the meantime, China's building coal-powered plants over there, I think to the tune of 2 a month, because they want energy. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Listen, there's got to be money changing hands to the right people, and I think that's what's fueling this. And I'm not talking about Denny Levinson. I'm talking about the governor and some key politicians. There's got to be.
Yeah, and it's foreign. It's foreign entities. That are fueling this wind turbine scam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like people, if you really, now this whole forcing this green energy down our throats, this is what the Democrats do. They just make up the rules as they go along.
Yeah.
Schumer didn't want to, we have an impeachment clause in the Constitution. Schumer just blew that up a couple weeks ago, when they wanted to bring Mayorkas in and impeach him. Because of the problems we're having on the border. I mean, it's just people have to, got to get your heads out of the sand and figure out that, the Democrats are ruining this country.
They sure are.
They are over all the problems we have.
Yeah.
Look at the inner cities. I mean, it's time to wake up. By the way, Trump's coming to Wildwood.
Yeah.
Next Saturday.
That's right.
Maybe we could get some of the people that are opposed to the turbines. Maybe bring it up to the man. Make it an issue, because I don't think he's for it.
No, I don't think so either. No, I don't think
John,
so.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Have
you
a
too.
great American weekend, my friend.
Thanks for the call. You too. Tony and AC. Tony, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Well, thank you for taking my call. A lot of different subjects today, and I try to make a little left turn here and call it questions from a lightweight. When you were talking about Straub and Miss America and the lawsuit, I remembered yesterday I was watching Joe Scarborough on his cable channel.
Yes.
And lawsuits dawned to me that Trump should sue him because he completely misinterpreted something Trump said. He was hounding on Trump wants to be a dictator, right? And he kept going on and just disparaging Trump as a human being, as a person. And Trump never said he wanted to be a dictator. Somebody asked him a question, and his reply was something like, I'll be a dictator for a day, and then he said he'll enforce the border, build the wall, and open up the pipeline, start the pipeline again.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And to hear, and my question is, in your industry, and you're part of the talk show host, he's in the news business, speaking to the public, right? How much liability does he have, and how much freedom does he have to misinterpret and twist words and not have to worry about getting sued?
That would be, that comes under the heading vague. You know what I'm saying?
Obviously, if Trump, I think his lawyers and his people knew that they could sue him.
Yeah, they would. They would. Yeah.
They would. Yeah. And it boggles my mind that a guy can misinterpret a statement, which was so obvious, because they don't play the question that somebody asked Trump. They asked him about that.
Yes.
They don't. So he answered. Somebody mentioned dictator. Do you want to be a dictator? Whatever it was, you didn't hear that part. You only heard his reply.
Yes.
And then, of course, the spaghetti bowl he made out of Trump's statement, right? Misinterpreting it. So that was I'm waiting to. It's just beyond me that he's got to take that kind of punishment and that kind of ridicule when it was obvious that it wasn't what he said or what he meant.
If it were me, I would go ahead and sue Scarborough, and it would probably be thrown out because there would be no concrete proof. So, but I would do it anyway because I'm Donald Trump, and I would gain some.
He gets fined. He gets fined for what's the girl that he disparaged because it had never happened in Bergdorf Goodman.
Yeah.
They have statements from the staff. Nobody ever saw him in the place. She can't remember the year. And you've been in high-end stores where you go to a changing room. There's always a matron of people around.
Right.
Cleaning out the stalls that are empty. And I mean, come on. All you have to say is help, and the police are there in 2 minutes.
That's right.
It's beyond belief.
Wait. Here's a guy.
Absolutely.
Think about this, Tony. Here's a guy who owns hotels in New York. Okay. And he's going to
retrofitted the skating rink in record time under budget. People loved him. Roman rink. That was right. He's the rehabilitated Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
Plus his hotel.
So he owns hotels, but he's going to go into a dressing room in Bergdorf Goodman to have sex with a woman.
You know?
I mean, think about that. That is the dumbest thing in the world. And you don't have to do it.
Well, it's laughable, but at the same time, it's a step towards communism and a dictatorship. And if you run against me, you're going to, like the Russians, the one Navalny, you're going to get some kind of little pinprick, and 2 weeks later you're dead. You're poisoned.
Yeah.
I mean, right now with the trials, it's a step in that direction.
Yes.
Anyway, you're a very interesting show today.
Thank you.
There was a lot to hear and a lot of good stuff.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for the call. You got to laugh at that one, though. Trump owns hotels in New York. And he's going to go have sex with a woman in a dressing room in a department store. An upscale department store. Oh, speaking of Trump, and I said this to one of our callers earlier. Trump was fined this week for defying a New York gag order. He was held in contempt of court Tuesday, fined $9,000 for repeatedly violating a gag order that barred him from making public statements about witnesses or jurors or some others connected to his New York hush money case. If he does it again, the judge warned he could be jailed. Now, I made a bet with one of the callers earlier, and I'm going to bet this. The next step, and they'll do it, is Trump gets put in jail. Maybe it's for a couple hours or whatever, but the point is that the judge is going to make some kind of example out of him. And can you see it now? Donald Trump jailed. That'll be the headline on all the news stories, all the NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, everywhere, even Fox. Donald Trump jailed. Could you see it? I could see it now. Oh, boy. And as the caller said earlier, if they do that, then he wins the presidency. It's that simple. So maybe he'll want to go to jail. I don't know. Oh boy, it's unbelievable how much they really do things against him, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. We talked a little bit about the campus protests and the tents on campuses and buildings being taken over. And the consensus has been today that the Ivy League schools, Penn, even Princeton, Columbia, they have been reluctant to take action. And we have said this before, and we'll say it again, and it continues to be held true, that the campus administration, whether it be the president or the chancellor or whatever they call them at whatever institution, that they are weak. They are weak. And here we one caller told us they have student visas that expired. And there was, they're going to leave tomorrow. I remember, and I'll digress for a minute, when Frank Rizzo was mayor. None of this ever happened. In fact, he became mayor towards the end of the student protests. And there wasn't too many student protests when Rizzo was mayor. Not too many. Not too many protests. And, you know, when there was a few situations where there were disturbances, it got squashed right away. And that's really, you know, I said this a couple weeks ago. I started the show by saying the inmates don't run the asylum. And these college campuses, particularly on the East Coast, are the inmates are running the asylum. And I mean, schools are saying it's an untenable situation. No, you're in charge, administrators. You're in charge of the school. And what you say, or what you say, it should go. I mean, look at Ron DeSantis in Florida. That's not going to happen here. And it didn't happen. And Texas, they one day, out. They ought to take a page out of that book. I'll tell you. Andy was saying he lives in Philadelphia. I wouldn't live there now. They would have to pay me, and then I would think about it. It's just too much. It's too much. Well, that is going to put the wraps, believe it or not, on another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer, and thanks to you, our callers, because without you, we don't have a show. And as I always say, without you, there is no me. I'm John DeMasi. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk to you again next week. We'll do it all over again. Talk with a Purpose right here, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.